Hi there. Welcome to a new episode of Branding with Friends, the show where branding meets key small business topics. Here you'll learn the tips straight from the experts on everything from authentic marketing to book publishing to social media. We focus on what you can do right now to use these topics and the power of branding to attract your dream clients. I'm your host, branding expert Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. I help small business owners tell their story and show their value through clear messaging and consistent branding. I'm also a former Disney storyteller, a professional speaker, and the author of the best-selling book, Permission to Try. And today, I'm so excited to introduce you to one of my friends from the business world. If you have been curious about mentoring, wondering how it's different from coaching, and wondering why you would maybe want to hire somebody who does exactly what you do to help you, you are going to love today's episode. My guest today is the incredible Jamie. Jamie, I forgot how to pronounce your name.
Starcevich. This happens
Starcevich.
Every interview. Yeah.
I'm Franceschi, you're Starcevich.
Yeah.
Everyone, no one will remember either of those. Jamie Starcevich is amazing. I just usually call her Jamie S. Jamie S. is the founder of and creative director at Spruce Road, where she and her team create standout brand design for digital brands. She's pulling back the curtain on running a successful design studio, revealing what it takes to create a time-efficient design process and red carpet client experience. Welcome, Jamie. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me, Annie.
Absolutely. So I had this random idea to have an episode about mentoring because you inspired me I think it was last year, I had taken your course. So Jamie has an incredible course that teaches you how to have an amazing client experience as a graphic designer. And if you know me, that I do graphic design, but I also do copywriting, branding, all those pieces. And she has run this really successful design studio for how many years have you been running Spruce Road?
It's been over 5 years.
So for 5 years. So it's actually less old than Greatest Story, but I have been following her on Instagram. She's amazing. And I did her course and I was so impressed with it. Many, many years ago, I used it to help create a process for Greatest Story that many of my clients know really well, which is so wonderful. And I got a wild idea to reach out to Jamie and say, Jamie, could you mentor me? So I really admired the work that she did. She has a successful studio. Even though we do similar things, we both do branding, and we might potentially have a client inquiry from the same client. But I was going into maternity leave in 2019, and I know that you have 2 kids. Yeah.
Yep.
So you've done 2 maternity leaves. So I was like, I'm going to, cut the cord on this. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, but Jamie I was so inspired to bring Jamie on to talk about mentoring because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about it. Some people don't know what the difference is between that and coaching and why you would hire somebody who's technically a competitor of yours. So we're going to talk about that today. And Jamie was so kind to come on, and she's going to share 3 tips with us about how to use mentoring to grow your practice. So we'll kind of go through each of those. And if you're new to Branding with Friends, you are going to find out that we saved that 3rd tip for the end. So make sure to listen to the end because Jamie's got something special for you, and we'll close with that last tip. So before we get to that tip, Jamie, could you tell us a little bit about your history being mentored and mentoring other people?
Yeah. So, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through those 3 points, but mentoring is something I felt was necessary from the very beginning. Just having an online business as an entrepreneur, it's just tough to know what to do in like specific client situations and how to price your services. I mean, there's a million questions you have. And so just to have someone to come before you and say like, I've gone through this even like a year ago, like if they're just a year ahead of you, is so helpful. Or in a direction that you're wanting to pivot more toward has just been something I've pursued from day one. And something that has been one of my core values. I didn't even know at the time like how influential those core values would be that I wrote down on that Google Doc from like the first few months of Spruce Road. But it's been one of them has been about collaboration and mentorship. So yeah, that's been my experience on my end. And then over the past 5 years, I've hired coaches and taken courses, and I'm just a big proponent of learning from those that have gone through it before you, learning from their successes and their missteps. And it just cuts so much time and overthinking. I'm a chronic overthinker. So that's so
Yes.
helpful for me.
Yes, me too. And so many people that I talk with and work with are overthinking, overwhelmed, overcomplicating their marketing, overcomplicating their branding, as I'm sure you help people uncomplicate, right? But I think you sort of touched on it. But let's, for everybody's sake, define what we're talking about as mentoring today versus coaching. And we are both, Jamie and I are talking today about mentoring in the context of paying somebody to tell you their experience. So this isn't like, Jamie didn't take me to coffee. We live in completely different states, but, didn't do it. She did it out of the goodness of her heart, but I also like invested in her time and said, please, can I pay you for your expertise and for your experience? And it was one of the best investments I could have made last year, even just in mindset going into a big break with maternity leave and trying to grow my practice. Like, she's amazing. She helped me create a service for my existing clients that was fabulously successful, even though I launched it really late in the year. So let's talk about that. So Jamie, how would you say, what's the difference for you between mentoring and coaching?
Yeah, I would be curious what your thoughts are on this too, because I honestly didn't research this. I've never
Sure.
talked to anyone about this before. But just in my belief, I feel like a mentor is probably in the same or similar space that you are in. And so for me as a designer, that works with clients and does brand identity and collateral, it's helpful for me to learn from a fellow designer that does the same things. We have those shared experiences, those common things that come up. That can really benefit for me to have a mentor, even if it's a peer in the same season that I'm in.
Yeah.
Versus a coach, I feel is someone more outside. And it's so valuable to have both. A coach is more of the outside perspective.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're a service-based business, maybe they specialize in coaching a lot of different online service-based businesses or brick and mortar service-based businesses, but not your specific service that you offer. I don't know if that's what you.
And I think that that's how you've kind of approached it, right? Like that you've done, I know right now you have your Share Worthy Design course and you have a coaching program / mentoring program within your course, right? So it's limited to graphic designers, which is amazing that you're able to kind of lead them through. What I would say, having worked with a lot of coaches and what I've come to understand about coaching, I know everyone does it a little differently, but what I've heard a lot of coaches talk to me about is that coaching is really about helping you unlock your own answers. So the sort of thought behind it is that if you get coaching, the coach is really there to help you go farther, faster, using their framework, using their exercises, using their experience and expertise, but it's less about sort of telling you the answers as it is about helping you discover them for yourself. That sort of mindset stuff, right? Which is so powerful. I think as you were talking, I was trying to define mentoring. I think mentoring is this for how I do it. I do mentor clients and people coming into my business who want to know how to run a profitable and passionate service business. So that, I work with many of my clients do mentoring with me. Many people I just meet for speaking do it. And the way I think about it is it's sort of this weird cousin between coaching and consulting. So it's sort of both, because you are coaching people to help them sort of apply the lessons to their own business. But part of the reason I call it mentoring and not coaching is, one, I'm not a certified coach, so I haven't gone through that. I don't have that. One day I'll become a business coach. Who knows? But for now, I feel like where I can add the most value is somebody who sees my practice and wants to learn how I did what I did. And could I take my mindset and what I've learned and apply it to their business and say, well, if it were me, this is what I would do. And to your point, I think in any case, you are kind of cutting the corner. You're helping somebody get to where they want to go faster, because both you and I have sort of been in the trenches for X number of years. You've done it for 5, I've done it for almost 7. There's a lot that we can provide either between our branding experience or even just our business ownership experience. And that's what I had learned is so valuable to people, that is to have that perspective. And having done mentoring for many years, I have over the years hired people. So I hired Diana Needham, who's been on Branding with Friends, just for a few hours to consult on my book marketing stuff. I kind of had that. I did most of it, but I'm you know what? She knows this stuff better than I do. And for an hour of her time, I probably saved myself 10 hours of my time. So I'd say that's the huge difference between mentoring. It's really about actually getting some direct answers and sort of targeted advice more than anything, kind of like that consulting coaching thing. But we haven't even gotten to our first tip yet. So let's get to that first tip. We've already given you some good advice here. So when we think about mentoring in terms of getting some help from a mentor, what would be your first tip about this?
Yeah, so I have my list up here, but the number one thing I would say, and this is number one for a reason, is that humility will take you far. And that was also one of my core values. I think actually all three of these are some of my core values I didn't even realize. Um, but yeah, humility will take you far. And I feel like just in general in life, that's true. But then in small business as well, because like if you're prideful about what you do, like you could be blind to certain things, unaware of tweaks you could make that could really help you grow. And having that humility will really only enhance for my designers that I coach, only enhance their client experience. So you have to take a step back and be humble about that, especially as designers. I know you know this, Annie, but you have to have humility with your design work, because you can't just show it to a client and be like, this is it and we're done. It's just not
We
how it
wish we
works.
could. You and I wish we could. I always
Yeah.
dream about coming up with this is it price. This is it. That's
Yeah.
it. We're done. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my design, take it or leave it. No, you have to listen to what your
Yeah.
clients say. Like, they know their target audience, they know who's buying their products. And so you have to be humble to listen to that. And I just remember like going to school for design. Like, I started out in architecture for 2 years, and I had like the hardest professors, and I won't repeat what critiques they made, but it was some really tough words, I would say. And I learned at 18 years old, like, I gotta humble myself. I don't know everything, and I need to respect those that have gone through this before me. So I did that for 2 years, and then I transferred to another school that was more of an art school. And from them, they hardly critiqued anything. So I learned like freedom from them. I kind of needed both,
Yeah.
but each of the schools had something that the other didn't. But I learned humility from that first one, and I'm so grateful for those hard lessons, because now, like, I'm not attached personally to the design work that I send clients. I'm like, give it to me. That's fine. Don't be shy about it. It's your brand.
Right, right. Absolutely. And I think it's a good lesson of business overall. And I'm glad you brought it up in that context, because I'm learning even now, I think the best thing you can do is admit that you don't have all the answers. I definitely do not, spoiler alert, I do not have all the answers. And I am learning, and I am in a season of business just like many of my clients are. We're all in a process of growing. And I think that mentoring is this wonderful door you can open. It wasn't something you were advertising to. I kind of want to highlight that fact, is that I just kind of had a hunch that I was like, I think Jamie does this. I don't know. And I remember, I think I was on my baby moon. I was on my baby moon a year ago at Disney World. And I remember I like wrote an email to you sitting by the pool. We were about to leave that vacation, because I was thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. How am I going to go on maternity leave? How am I going to do all this stuff? Who knows how to do this is Jamie, because she's done it. And I was like, I don't know if you do this, but like, I'd be happy to pay you an hourly rate if you do. And you wrote right back and you said, yeah, we can make this happen. Like, you happen to be doing mentoring at the time. And that was such a gift to me, but it wasn't something that I even knew you did. So, many people, especially if you're willing to pay for their experience, like there can be somebody you really admire, ask them. And if you come to them humble and say, like, I don't have all the answers, and I would love to get some answers from you if you feel like sharing your perspective with me. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful tip. What would you say is sort of the next piece of the puzzle? But that second tip.
Collaboration is key, is one of my other core values that I have. And I feel like to come into mentorship, it comes along with being humble. You have to recognize it's not all about yourself, and that collaboration can really take you farther. So like, maybe you're hiring a coach or a mentor, whatever it is, but collaborating with them, like you said, can shave like an hour of their time, can shave off like 10 hours of yours. So it's something that I've had in my business since day one, is an intentionality to partner up with both designers in my same space, as well as people outside of my industry, and really just kind of like help each other and push each other up. And I'm sure I know firsthand that I did give my competitors some clients that I could have snatched myself, I guess, but it's not about that for me. Like, I think you said this before we hopped on here, there's enough to go around for everybody. So I think that kind of prideful or like hoarding mentality is not going to take you as far as collaboration.
It's also, I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I also don't think if you're a service business owner or coach consultant, it's actually not healthy to take every single client that comes your way unless
Right.
those clients are like slam dunk fits for what you do. There's many reasons for that. A lot of it has to do with like, if you can't deliver the best solution for them, you should make sure they get the best solution. Like if you're sort of shoehorning what you offer, for example, because they're not going to be happy in the end if you don't deliver something they actually need to solve their problem. And that's a very like scarcity mindset of I must work with every single person that comes my way.
Yeah.
I often say that no is one of the most profitable words I've ever said in my business.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
and it's almost like, you know, it's not even that it's no, it's that I would love to help you and I want you to get the best solution. So I recognize that's not me. You should talk to Jamie. You should talk to this person who has, you know, comes up a lot. I have really niched down. I really work with service business owners because that's where I can add a lot of value, not just in the branding, but also in this sort of business coaching and business mentoring piece that I'm doing. So it's like, you know, do I occasionally mentor product-based business owners? Sure. I don't do the whole solution for them. So I send them to other people who can do that work better than I can. I would not be the right solution for everybody, and you're not the right solution for everyone either. So
Yeah.
it's when you embrace that, you can then build these relationships, and those things are so powerful to be able to have another colleague that's like in your field. And I think this underlines kind of one of the reasons I want to do this episode was to show you guys this is why you would hire someone who's technically a competitor, you know, to build like, now we have a relationship. We were just talking before and you were like, oh, you can always like shoot me a note or something. I was like, really? Like, but you're like Jamie at Spruce Road. Like you're like a big deal. But I've really felt your support and I so value the time that I invested with you, but what I got out of it was not just the advice, but also like a great relationship. So that's something I think where this collaboration is key, is realizing that not only when you invest in somebody to get their experience, you then become kind of part of their world. And you can support each other and continue to grow. So I have been so grateful for that. I love all of this stuff around mentoring. And I'm really glad that you're here today. I know you wanted to share something special with everybody and it's related to branding. So I'm doing the humility thing. I'm like, look, Jamie knows her stuff. Like I have learned at her feet. So like, what do you have to share with us about branding?
Yeah, so I've got a resource called Brand SelfCare is what I've named it. And it's essentially the premise is that for us in our own brands, we need that time to do self-care. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys are like me that are listening, but I can spend all day with clients or my students or my community serving them. But it's hard for me to work on my own brand, like update my portfolio or
Yeah.
update my own site. And that's like classic like designer problem. Like we we just can't do it.
Right. Right.
And so anyways, I've created this resource called Brand Self-Care. If you head to sprucerd.com/brand self-care, there's no dashes or anything. It's a free course and it's just all emailed to you. And it's literally like the most comprehensive free thing I've created.
Yeah. It's
And
awesome.
it walks you like step by step through the branding process. And I share a case study I did specifically for this series. And even if you want to do it for your own brand, for your client's brand, or for just for fun, it's a great exercise to go through that whole strategy component down to the entire brand identity.
Yes. And I'm going to say it's fantastic. I happen to be on Jamie's list. It's a lot of the kind of stuff I try to do for my clients that I teach, you know, and you should check out Spruce Road because that's like, you know, the abundance mindset. If you were thinking about doing branding with me and you find Jamie, you do her course and you think Jamie's my right person, you have my blessing because I want to make sure that you get the right partner, right? So like maybe I'm your right partner, maybe Jamie's your right partner, maybe Secret Answer C is your right partner. Who knows? But I know that that's a fabulous resource. And Jamie and I share a lot of design values in terms of how we design logos and what we believe in for brands. So like you're going to love that if you're curious about it. I'd also say too that for me, I do branding for coaches and consultants. So I have a brand story solution of your clear marketing message, consistent visual brand, and the website. But then I'm also doing a lot of mentoring these days. So if this got you curious and you want to talk to somebody who has a 6-figure branding practice, been in business for 7 years, I'm happy to talk with you. So you can grab a free consultation at greateststorycreative.com. Just look at the big red button and you can literally talk with me privately. There's a chance to sign up to get on my calendar. So I am so glad that you were here with us, Jamie. You shared these 2 powerful tips already, which is humility will take you far. Collaboration is key. What is that last thing that we should take into our hearts if we're thinking about being mentored?
Always be willing to learn. I feel like is something both you and I practice actively.
Yeah.
I think our tendency, I guess it depends on your personality type, but our tendency is to say like, I can figure this out on my own. Like there's so much free information out there, which is fantastic. That I can do this on my own. I can go on Pinterest and find the right article, listen to podcasts, whatever it is. And that's fantastic. And that is a great way to learn. But just to implement that in your business and make sure you're setting aside the time to learn and be mentored and coached by other people is, I feel like, crucial. And it's not just this age, this like information age we're in. This has been around for generations.
Right,
Of
right.
books and everything. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to sort of wrap our episode up on, because I think in the early years of my business, I don't know if you felt this way, but I sort of felt all this pressure that I had to do everything myself, that I
yeah.
had to figure out everything. And I would have the curse of, I actually have a lot of the skill sets between writing and design to do a lot of this stuff, but that doesn't mean I should be doing all of it.
Yeah.
And I love this willingness to learn. And I would also say too, that I think a really good litmus test of whether you need a mentor is if you're looking at some tasks on your plate and they just stress you out and you're not sure where to get started, think about who's doing what you want to do really well, and then ask them for an hour of their time, because I would guarantee you that they are going to help you see things. And maybe you're going to learn how to do it. Maybe you're going to learn, oh gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you're going to learn how to outsource it, or that you should outsource it. That hour of time is going to be phenomenally helpful, because that was sort of what led me to Jamie was, she's done these things. Why don't I just ask her and pay her for that time, because she's a mom and she's got stuff to do and she's a busy businesswoman. So value the people that you ask for help, but ask for help because you do not have to do this all alone. And when we're here, we're proof that, like, yes, we do the same thing, and yes, we are like happily friends, and there's more than enough business and opportunity to go around. So even your colleague, somebody does what you do, could really help you turn a corner or turn the page. And I'd rather you do that than stress about it. So we've got your back, right, Jamie?
Yeah. Amen to all of that. I feel like learning can only take you farther, and it all just weaves together, like having humility, be willing to collaborate, and be willing to learn, because um, like you said before, it can just shave off so much time and
Yeah.
anxiety and overthinking if you can just kind of implement that in your own business. And I find a lot of times, just in myself, when I'm on like someone's email list and I can tell they're in the middle of a launch or whatever, I'm like, oh, do I want this? Do I not? And it's like, just think of the ROI. Like, is it going to actually save
Yeah.
you money? Like, if I can book this, whatever, then can I book a day with a client and that'll save, that'll be worth the price. Like,
Yes.
so, and
Yes.
it
That's a
almost
huge,
always is. Yes. Yeah.
right. Like, would this, I think I used to like go, back and forth about like $100 investment or something for my business, like a course or something it was. And I was like, you know what? The best question you can ask yourself is like, what would I need to pay for this in terms of, would I get another client because I did this? Yes. And that more than pays for that, like for all this time I'm agonizing and trying to teach it to
Yes.
myself. The other thing that we didn't really clearly point out, but I just want to, sort of wrap it up with this note, is that not only is it really valuable to get people's advice, but remember that versus all this free content, like you and I both have a ton of free content, but nothing's going to replace, either of us looking personally at what you're doing. So giving you
Mhm.
personalized advice of like, oh, you have this, you need to do this, this, and this. So you could spend, I don't know how many hours going through both all the free content that we offer, or, spend 1 hour having that advice tailored to who you are and what you need, and maybe get some gems that you've never heard before that are not publicly available. So
Yeah.
can't say enough good things about mentoring. Let us know if you have been mentored or you want to start offering mentoring in your practice. We would love to hear from you and what your success stories around mentoring are, especially coming out of today's episode. Jamie, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Annie.
Awesome. Awesome. So glad. We hope that you guys enjoyed yet another episode of Branding with Friends. So many thanks to my special guest, Jamie of Spruce Road. Tune in next time when we'll tackle another topic where branding meets business. Till then, I'm Annie Franceschi of Greatest Story Creative. Find all our episodes, branding resources, that free consult I talked about, and so much more at our website, greateststorycreative.com. Stay awesome.